airy fairy, super vague. I help people with their purpose. I help people achieve their passion. And then they're building whole brands on that and they wonder why they can't have any clients. How is it that you stay so disciplined? And then I was like, okay, I think this is not that big of a deal, but people keep asking me. So I'm gonna start coaching on this, and lo and behold, ended up blowing my brand. Okay, are you ready? Drum roll, please. What I would do if I were looking to get my first client from scratch. Hey, CourtneyLSanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time online life and business coach as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things. Currently recording this video during nap time, but I go through all of that because I'm so passionate about helping you turn your success story into a 6 or 7 figure personal brand. And one question that I get asked a lot is, all right, but what do I do if I am starting from scratch and I have nothing? So oftentimes I share a lot of strategies and then people think, oh, it's easy for you because whatever, you've got all these people who are following you on YouTube, or you have an Instagram following, or you've built your brand. But what people don't realize is that I'm well aware of that, and the strategies that I share with you on this here YouTube channel and elsewhere are tailor-made for people who are starting from scratch. But since, that seems to be something that people find hard to believe, they're like, oh, the things you're teaching only work if you only have an audience. I thought that it would be fun to do a video that specifically speaks to what I personally would do if I were starting from scratch and I needed to get my first client. Like, what are the moves that I would make? So if you're like, yes, this is me, you are in the right place because we're getting ready to get into that right now. Okay, are you ready? Drum roll, please. What I would do if I were looking to get my first client from scratch. The first thing I would do, and I wanna see if you're actually gonna do this and you're gonna listen to it. If you're gonna do this, let me know in the comments below. The first thing that I would do is I would coach on something that people ask me about all the time. And I say this because so many women, so many people in general, but especially women, want to start coaching businesses, and it's on this kind of airy fairy, super vague. I help people with their purpose. I help people achieve their passion. And then they're building whole brands on that and they wonder why they can't have any clients. If you were looking to get your first client and you're looking to do it fast, I mean, if I were looking everything was taken away from me, I was starting completely from scratch. No branding, no one knew who I was, I promise you. I would say, what is the one thing or what are the few things that people ask me about all the time? I think this is not a big deal, but people are always asking me, how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you do that? And I would make that the focus of my coaching. Even if I eventually wanted to expand my niche into something else, I would start there. And so that's the thing that you have to understand. When you are first getting started, you want to be very, very narrow, and you want to focus on a very specific niche that is popular, that people are asking you about, that you have a clear, result or evidence in. Just because you're starting in something really specific doesn't mean you can't grow into something more broad. I'm the perfect example of that. People kept asking me, how is it that you were so self-disciplined? How did you master all of this stuff? They saw where I came from. I had lost a full ride engineering scholarship. I had gotten in all this credit card debt. I was, going through it, and I was able to pull myself out of that. People were asking me constantly, how is it that you stay so disciplined? And then I was like, okay, I think this is not that big of a deal, but people keep asking me. So I'm gonna start coaching on this, and lo and behold, ended up blowing my brand, where I expanded to time management, and then to general personal development, and then to blogging, and then to business and marketing, and all the different things that I do now. But I started with what people ask me about all the time. So I'm not asking you to think about your passion per se, right? Because right now, this video is about what I would do if I was starting from scratch and I needed to get a client from scratch. I'm asking you to start with, what is the thing that people ask you about all the time? Start coaching on that. All right, the second thing I would do once I identify what the thing is that people ask me about all the time is I would create a visual brand. So I talk about this a lot because it's really important. In coaching, we are selling intangibles, right? It's not something physical that you can, pick up and sell somebody, right? It's not a pencil or a cell phone or lipstick or something that you're selling people. You're selling people a service, but it's like a transformation and a result. And so branding is really important because it helps make it more tangible. It helps make it more real so that people can see it. If I say, oh, I'm gonna help you, improve your self-discipline, but I have a whole brand around it and I have a coaching program that's packaged well and I have some nice photos photos and good font and text, it makes it feel like a real thing, even though it's still intangible. So this doesn't have to be something that costs you a lot of money. If you know the ways to create a beautiful brand very quickly, you can do it in a very professional way. We actually teach this in depth inside of my brand new program, the Next Big Name Bootcamp, which is all about how to create a coaching brand truly from scratch, and not just how to create any coaching brand, but how to create a coaching brand for those of you who aspire to truly build an empowerment empire and you want to be like the next big name in your niche. That's why it's called the Next Big Name Bootcamp. We teach you how to do that in depth. But to start, at least for this video, because I only have so many more minutes left in each video, I will say make sure that you are focusing on creating an attractive brand once you have identified the thing that people ask you about all the time. All right, the next thing that I would focus on is, before I even thought about clients, I would focus on creating content. So many people focus on trying to close clients before they have created any content, and they wonder why it's so difficult to actually get the sale. Here's the thing, people understand how like online marketing works. This is not something that's new. Coaching is not new. And so it's not enough for you to just say, hey, I'm a coach, I can help you with XYZ, and for people to just turn over their credit card. You might be marketing yourself or promoting your coaching program, but whether you realize it or not, people are gonna check you out, right? They're gonna go check out your website, or at least, the very least, they're gonna check out your social media platforms, and you better have content there that demonstrates your expertise. So before I went looking for clients, I would be focusing on how can I bolster my social media profiles by having existing content that demonstrates my expertise and talks about what I know and helps me attract those clients. So I would focus on that. You know, if you are building an Instagram profile from scratch, I would make sure that I had at least 12 to 15 really great in-depth posts that were beautifully branded on my profile. If I were building a YouTube channel, I would make sure that I had, 5 to 10 videos already published on my channel before I went out looking to attract clients. So whichever platform that you're gonna be on, focus on creating that content. I think a good rule of thumb is create content at least for a month so that you have a good little archive for someone to dive into, and then go into marketing your products and services. But don't do it if you don't have any content behind you, because people will follow up and check you out. And if there's nothing for them to sink their teeth into, it's gonna be highly unlikely that they actually hire you. All right, I have more where that came from, but first I wanna hear from you. Who is your ideal coaching client? Share in the comments below. All right, the fourth thing that I would do is I would join the conversation. And when I say join the conversation, I mean I would join the conversation with my peers in the industry, and I would also join the conversation with my prospects that ultimately I wanted to be hired by. And so this is something that I see almost no one doing, and I don't understand why, especially if you are first starting a coaching business. What is the industry that you're in, right? Imagine maybe you are a relationship coach. Well, there are things that your industry peers or existing industry leaders are already talking about. So I would be on their social media platforms, and as they are hosting live streams, I would be joining those live streams and, giving my thoughts and my comments, in the actual comments. I would be leaving comments on their videos. Again, not to promote myself, but literally just to be a part of the conversation and to share my thoughts. And then also the prospects themselves, right? The prospects are also engaging on various social media platforms, or, looking for content on this particular subject. I would be replying to their comments and answering their questions, and just generally being involved in the conversation around whatever my subject matter is. And so you do that because not only does it increase your visibility, but it really gives you insight on what problems your prospects are actually looking to have solved. And so this is important because oftentimes we create, our programs in a vacuum, and then we wonder why they don't sell. But if you are part of the conversation and you're making yourself visible in the market and in the industry, not only will you be able to come up with something that people are actually going to want to buy, but you won't be an unknown entity. So when you start to promote yourself, people will be like, oh, I've seen you around. I remember you. I've seen your comments under such and such's, live stream or whatever, or that one live stream about, dating in the modern age. And, I remember seeing your comments and the contributions that you made. I thought they were pretty insightful. And so again, you're not this unknown person, you're a player in the industry. And so it makes it more likely for people who want to work with you. All right, the fifth thing that I would do is I would then turn those connections into conversations, namely discovery calls or consultations. So as you are engaging in the conversation, again, you're connecting with your industry peers as well as your industry prospects. Any connections that you are making, particularly with those prospects, I would see if I could steer those conversations to an actual discovery call. So again, I have an entire process for how we do this that I teach inside of my program, the Next Big Name Bootcamp. But suffice it to say for this video, if anyone is reaching out to me or were having a conversation, I would just simply ask them if they were looking for help with their situation and see if I can drive that conversation to a discussion about how we can possibly work together in my coaching program. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, you're really going to love my Client Attraction Masterclass. This is a free masterclass that I have that teaches you my client attraction process that I use this day to attract paying clients in my business. So if you're curious about that, go ahead and click the link below to sign up for that masterclass right now. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. If you loved it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you want even more where this came from, make sure you are subscribed to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show. And if you can't wait for my next podcast episode, make sure you are following me on Instagram. It's CourtneyLSanders on Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.